In war, there are moments when technology decides everything, and moments when desperation takes over. And when desperation takes over, nations abandon logic, strategy, and restraint. Nowhere was this more evident than in the skies of the Pacific during World War II. When young men were transformed into final mission pilots, aircraft became one-way weapons, and sacrifice itself was redefined as honor. Just a few years earlier, during the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Japan held a clear technological advantage. Its fighter planes were agile, deadly, and superior to American aircraft. Japanese pilots were better trained, more experienced, and highly motivated, and for a brief moment the balance of air power in the Pacific leaned heavily in Japan's favor. But war evolves quickly, and by 1943 everything had changed. The United States had transformed its industrial might into overwhelming military power, producing aircraft at a scale Japan could never match. American fighters were faster, more durable, and equipped with emerging radar technology that allowed early detection of enemy aircraft and constant air patrols. The skies were no longer contested. They were dominated. By 1944, Japan was losing aircraft faster than it could replace them. Veteran pilots were gone, fuel was scarce, and young, inexperienced students were being rushed into cockpits with minimal training. It was in this moment of collapse that Vice Admiral Takejiro Onishi presented a radical proposal, one that would change the nature of warfare forever. His solution was simple, brutal, and extreme: special attack missions. Heavily armed aircraft flown directly into enemy warships, especially aircraft carriers, exchanging a single aircraft and pilot for the chance to cripple a floating fortress. This was not framed as desperation, but as strategy. Not as loss, but as duty. In October of 1944, the first organized special attack units were formed. Just days later, on October 25th, the world witnessed the first successful mission of this kind, when pilot Yukio Seki led his aircraft directly into the USS St. Lo. The impact ignited fires throughout the ship, detonated stored munitions, and within minutes the vessel was lost, causing massive casualties among the crew. Yukio Seki would later say, before his final flight, that he was not acting for political ideals, but out of personal fear for his family. He believed that if Japan fell, his wife could suffer at the hands of occupying forces. Whether this belief was genuine or shaped by propaganda remains debated, but it reveals the deeply personal emotions that fueled these missions. The Japanese state reinforced this mindset through religion, ideology, and media. State Shinto declared these pilots as guardians of the nation, spirits who would live forever as divine protectors enshrined at Yasukuni. This promise of eternal honor became a powerful tool. Many pilots were recruited from universities. Young men studying engineering, literature, and philosophy were told that volunteering was an honor, not an obligation. Yet documents, diaries, and testimonies reveal intense psychological pressure. Patriotism, guilt, and social expectation blurred the line between free choice and silent coercion. Sacrifice itself became state ideology. Pilots wrote in diaries about becoming the wind, about vanishing physically but remaining spiritually. Newspapers glorified their departures. Posters praised smiling young men boarding aircraft that would never return. Before each mission, pilots underwent ceremonial rituals, sharing cups of sake or water known as Mizu no Sakazuki. They received headbands, swords, and flags. They were instructed to keep their eyes open during the final approach, to focus on enemy carriers, and if unable to complete the mission, to follow alternative final procedures. The reality was far from heroic. American radar systems detected incoming aircraft long before visual contact. Fighter escorts and anti-aircraft fire turned the sky into a deadly barrier. From the American perspective, these pilots were portrayed as extremists rather than soldiers. And the numbers reveal the truth of their effectiveness. Out of approximately 3,300 special attack aircraft, only around 11 to 14% successfully struck their intended targets. Over 27% returned due to weather, fuel, or mechanical failure, and those who returned were often shamed, humiliated, and sent again. In total, these missions sank between 34 and 47 ships, depending on the source. But only 3 were aircraft carriers. Nearly 5,000 sailors were lost, and another 4,800 were wounded. A tragic cost, yet strategically insufficient to change the course of the war. The largest wave of special attack missions occurred during the Battle of Okinawa, where nearly 1,900 pilots were deployed in what Captain Motoharu Okamura described as a swarm of bees. A chilling metaphor, since bees do not survive after striking. Most of these pilots were between 17 and 24 years old. Many had never seen combat. Some believed they would be spiritually reborn. Others simply believed they had no alternative. While often portrayed as volunteers, many were driven by fear of disgrace, fear of disappointing family, and fear of being remembered as cowards. Some were directly pressured by commanders. Others stepped forward knowing refusal meant social isolation. Extreme self-sacrifice was not a new concept in Japanese military tradition. For centuries, samurai accepted final acts to preserve honor rather than face capture, and these pilots saw themselves as inheritors of that legacy. Even before official units existed, damaged pilots sometimes deliberately aimed their aircraft at enemy targets rather than surrender, making the transition to organized special attack missions disturbingly natural. By the end of the war, nearly 4,000 pilots had been lost in these missions, and Japan itself lay in ruins. Their actions did not save the empire, but they left behind one of the most haunting chapters in military history. Today, these pilots are remembered with deep controversy. Some view them as tragic symbols of loyalty and belief. Others see them as evidence of how governments can weaponize ideology, fear, and youth. What remains undeniable is this. When technology failed and defeat loomed, Japan turned human lives into weapons, and in doing so revealed the darkest intersection of ideology, desperation, and war.